We'd like to start by welcoming our candidates, Patrick Doyle and Judy Mitrowitz, and everyone who has joined us both in person and remotely. For our audience members, we ask that you please refrain from applause or comments until the end of the event. We hope this forum helps you to get to know our candidates better. Our budget hearing will begin shortly after. For our candidates, we ask that you please follow similar ground rules and show respect for one another by not interrupting or making any comments while the other candidate speaks. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for their opening statement and up to 2 minutes for their response for each question asked. Mrs. Petrolak will help to keep track of the time. She'll hold up a yellow sign when there's 15 seconds remaining and then a red sign when you have reached the 2-minute mark and must stop. We're going to start in alphabetical order, beginning with Patrick Doyle. We will alternate back and forth between questions. To begin, Patrick, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow. So I am, I've lived in the district for 20 some years. I've got 2 kids. One is in college and one's a sophomore. I think he's a sophomore at Shenango Valley. I've worked primarily in the community and economic development for most of that time. I've also done a fair amount of consulting related to helping businesses with a variety of strategic planning, grant writing. Now, currently, I work for the Greater Binghamton Chamber, where I work on development and membership, work every day with businesses, trying to help them find talent and network and grow their business. And I did serve on the school board previously to now, about 1,000 years ago. I love this district and I'm excited about being a candidate for the school board.
And I apologize, I was just made aware. Can you just make sure your microphones are on as well?
Oh, you
So
start over again?
I think we're okay. I think we caught what you said, but moving forward, we'll have better. Thank you. And Judy, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. I've lived in the district since I was age 4. Went through Shenango Valley schools, graduated in 1970. Went on to Alfred, Buffalo State, Portland, and Marywood. And then in 1975, I started teaching at Jackson City. I had a 38-year career in the classroom. And I also was in charge of their teacher center. My passion has always been what's best for kids. That was one of the reasons that I wanted to run for the school board in 2018. I started with somebody who had left the board, so that made when we had the election. So my first year was 1 month. That was it. And then the next remaining 4 years I ran last year, and I'm happy to run again for this 2-year term that we have available. That's it.
Thank you. And now we'll start with question 1. Judy, we ask you to please start. The question is, what motivated you to seek re-election to the board, and what do you hope to achieve in your next term?
It was not a hard decision for me to think about running for this school board. I believe in our mission and goals. I love the idea of playing a role in preparing our students for their years that they spend here, pre-K through 12, or whatever amount of time that they are here in the district. I like the idea that in New York State, we have people who can run for school boards. I'm a big believer in public education, as I know many other people are, not just myself. I also like what the district does with its capital improvement projects, in the sense that we just make sure we're always on top of things. I know that this year is going to be a challenge in getting all the projects done, mainly because hoping everything comes in that needs to come in to complete those projects. So those are why I wanted to seek re-election and what I want to achieve.
Thank you. And Patrick?
I think Shenango Valley is a terrific school district. I was very moved in recent weeks by the achievements of our kids, in the arts and athletics, the kids that came through and the photographs and how excited they were. And I think we have an amazing team here at the school. And of course, we excel in a lot of things beyond the arts and athletics, but we just have an amazing program here. Similar to Judy, I grew up in Hammondsport, which is a small town that Finger Lakes, great wine country. I'm a product of public school kid. I have wonderful memories of my teachers, people who helped shape what I've become as a person. Always a good friends. My kids, as I said, have gone and go to CV. And one of my first jobs out of school, out of college from Colgate was serving as an aide in the state Senate's Education Committee in Albany. And my job was to cover the Board of Regents for the state Senate, and I'd have to go back and write a report and give the senator an update on what the crazy stuff the regents were doing. So I'm very committed to public education. As I said, I've been on the board before, and this is an important moment for the district. We're going to have a new superintendent in July. And I think the goal for all of us is to continue what is great about this district and develop new initiatives to make us even better school.
Thank you. And Patrick, we'll have you start again for question 2. What do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing our district, and how would you like to address them?
I think the biggest challenge for me is, how do we help our young people keep up with the changes? And that's kind of a broad category of things. Just over the last few days, I've been thinking about ChatGPT and, how there's now software that can basically write stuff for us. So my son Michael texted me the other day. It wasn't during class. And he asked me if this meant that we didn't have to take the English Regents anymore. But that was a very interesting question. But I mean, the technology is crazy, and I think we need to be committed doing everything we can to help our students develop the skills and the perseverance to be successful in a challenging world. This means different things for different kids, and I think Shenango Valley takes that seriously, that we don't want to have everyone on the same track. We want to try to have tracks, and we want to inspire people in different ways so that they can grow up and be productive citizens, active in the community, and make a good living for their families. I'm also concerned generally about mental health. We've just come through a very difficult period with COVID. We have people that are dealing with a lot of things. And again, these issues are compounded by technologies that gobble up our time, and in some ways disconnect us from the sort of the terrestrial world, the real world, the actual world that we live in. Just this week, the Surgeon General of the U.S. issued a dire warning about the effects of loneliness. He calls for rebuilding social connections and making healthy relationships a priority. He talks about community programs that bring people together. And I think Shenango Valley School does a lot of this already and does it very well. But again, what can we do? What more can we do as a school community to even strengthen social connections beyond that? And I'm over my time, sorry.
Thank you. And Judy, now we'll have you go, please. Thank you.
So challenges that I think we are facing in our district is to make sure that we always offer the best programs for all of our students that we have from, like I said before, pre-K through 12. A few weeks ago at our board meeting, we had a presentation by the BOE superintendent, and she brought a lot of our Shenango students to talk to us. And I and many of the other board members were very impressed with his ability to just stand up and talk. And he wasn't using note cards. He was just a great speaker. Like Syracuse won that competition, and then I know he's moving on to the next level. So he made a comment that stuck with me that night. And he was talking about, he'd always been in school with the same kids, and then he exposed these program And while he was there, he was able to meet different people that weren't always, shingle down people. And I think that, his partner was from Union Indiana. So he really did, make a big impression on me. And I think there's a lot of kids, in school that are like him. The other thing I like, I think it's a challenge. Academics are always a challenge. I sit on the Ed Excellence committee. We take a look at data. I think data drives a lot of our decisions and our curriculum that we offer for kids. I like that we have a variety of sports if kids are interested in that. We also have the great art and music program, extracurricular clubs. If there's something that kids are interested in, we have that. It's time to listen.
Thank you. So Judy, we'll have you please start again for question 3. Can you describe your approach to decision-making on the board and how you balance competing interests and priorities?
I like that question. I saw that it was sent to us. I think when you sit on the board, one of the things that you learn is it is about group decision making, and that you really have to listen to your colleagues on the board and their opinions. It's not just your opinion, and that together on the board, we need to support the visions and goals of our district. And I think that is something that we try to do. We may not always agree on things, but that is part of being on the board, that you do come to consensus and you are able to give your opinion, and it may be different from your other board members, but you walk out of the room together as colleagues, like you did when you came in.
Thank you. Patrick?
I'm going to say exactly the same thing that you just said. I've tried over my career to be a consensus builder as much as possible. I believe that it's important to treat all people with respect. And I think that listening is more important than talking. And I try to shape my opinions based on having as much information as I can. And the older that I get, the more I realize how much I don't know and how much I need to learn. What Judy said very well, I think we need to be focused on doing what's best for the school district as a whole as much as possible. And I do think that we have to respond to situations individually in many cases and try to be as open and flexible as we can. And again, compromise is critical, especially when you have competing priorities.
Thank you. And we're already to our final question of the evening. We'll start with Patrick. The question is, what have you learned from previously serving on the board, and how will you apply those lessons to your work going forward?
The school board plays a critical role in developing a shared vision for and goals for the district. It's not the board's role to run the day-to-day district operations, but the board does provide important and critical oversight. And it's important as much as possible for the board to be on the same page and strive to represent the district with one consistent voice. I've been humbled by my service on the it's a major responsibility and something that I take very seriously.
Thank you. And Judy?
When I was first elected to the board from the school board college in Albany for a couple of days, and I came out of there with a lot more information than I put into that meeting. And to me, there's 3 things that I've always carried with me, and it is that we set policy for the district. Like Patrick said, we don't oversee the day-to-day operations. There are other people in the district that do that. Fiscally, I think as a board member, we always need to be fiscally responsible to the people that have elected us. And the other role board member has is to evaluate their superintendent. Superintendents do not get tenure like other people in education do, and that is a very important thing that we do. So those three things have always stuck with me. And it is a criteria that I keep in my mind frequently. And the other thing is that, you know, we do make decisions that support everyone in the district. And we do compromise when we work with other people. And I've enjoyed my time on the district and been looking forward to serving again in this responsibility.
Thank you both. So this concludes this evening's candidate forum question and answer session. Our budget hearing will begin shortly, and I wish everyone a great evening.